With Sinead O'Connor's haunting, breathy rendition of the Skyboat song, the opening credits to Season 7 of Outlander have felt heavier than most other renditions. However, the song and O'Connor's vocals felt doubly loaded with emotion after learning of the singer's passing this week. The extra significance the opening credits have carried throughout the entire season has helped the show. It's been a significant season. Although, let's face it, Claire and Jamie's catastrophic event scale is so much above average that it only applies to them. And possibly Meredith Grey. I don't mean to imply that everything they have experienced in Season 7 thus far has been more terrifying than other catastrophic incidents in their past. Nevertheless, this season has been heavy and depressing because of what Claire knows is about to happen. When you know that a huge upheaval is approaching and that many people are going to die as a result, time travel is a genuine bummer. It seems fun and all when you're getting railed by an otherworldly level hot Highlander from the 1700s. Although Claire is aware that the Continental Army prevails in this situation, she also understands that there must have been significant casualties. She is unsure if her own husband, who loves being thrust into a crisis, was among those killed. Throughout the first half of the season, Claire's every move felt motivated by her anxiousness. To say the least, the woman has been tense. Do you recall how she started crying when they were leaving Fraser's Ridge? Or how she became destabilized following her little time spent as a British Army prisoner? The moment Claire has been dreading has now come to pass. She must watch as Jamie enters the fray. Claire is a woman on the cusp. In September 1777, the First Battle of Saratoga is underway and Jamie, who is now a member of Daniel Morgan's Rifle Corps, is right in the middle of it. That hasty parting between Claire and Jamie? Heartbreaking. Everything happens so swiftly that Claire's fear is obvious as she sees Jamie leave. Although it makes a valiant effort, the lovely little cliffhanger that depicts Jamie unconscious on the battlefield is ineffective. We still have a season and a half left in this show, so we all know Jamie won't die today. San Hewen and Catriona Balfe truly sell the horror in this scene. However, during this period of our stay in Saratoga, William's first encounter with a real fight takes center stage. This season, William has received a lot of screen time, but to this point, he's been a bit of a snooze fest. However, I have faith that this is about to change since the idealistic and innocent child receives a harsh dose of reality, and by the end of it, it seems as though he is doubting everything. William has always advocated using violence to teach the rebels a lesson, but the guy had never actually engaged in any of it. It was all just talk. In fact, William is so eager to start the war that when Captain Richardson orders him to deliver communications away from the front lines, causing him to miss everything, he goes around him to Simon Fraser and essentially begs him to overrule Richardson and allow William's stay. He desires conflict. In this dialogue, it is clear that Fraser and William are poles apart, with Fraser having a fresh look and Fraser having a weary soul. Fraser decides to support William in continuing the struggle, but it's clear from the look on his face that he is aware that by doing so, William is signing up for, at worst, death and at best, some serious trauma. This is especially true given the knowledge that they won't be receiving the reinforcements they had anticipated expecting. It doesn't take long for William's idealized perception of conflict to crumble in on itself. He waits for the arrival of the Continental Army with his soldiers at the ready, his friend Hammond standing next to him. William even outright admits that he has feelings for Rachel. However, there is no formal accusation or organized conflict until, out of nowhere, Hammond is shot in the head with a rifle. What are the chances Jamie fired this shot and collapses to the ground? In order to get William's attention back on the game, Simon Fraser has to yell at him to stop staring in terror. After the battle, William hears some troops grumbling as they bury their dead, so he joins them in the digging. When William hears General Burgoyne and the other leaders toasting to victory, he is horrified because he knows that they barely maintained their ground and that there were more casualties than anticipated. William finally had the taste of conflict that he had been longing for, and it was even more unpleasant than he had anticipated. After the combat is over, Fraser finds William furious and tells him that every man who fights in battle changes as a result of the experience. We'll have to wait and see whether William will experience a transformation for the better or worse. Don't expect that you will receive any form of relief in 1980, despite the fact that I indicated that what happened in 1777 was quite serious. Due to the death of her parents, or whatever you want to frame the idea of leaving your parents behind 200 years in the past, Breeze had a melancholy and heaviness cast over her for the remainder of the season, similar to Claire's. A sad girl she is. Sadly, things are only going to get worse. Thankfully, Roger doesn't waste any time in presenting his wife to our new time-traveling visitor Buck Mackenzie. We have to hear Buck's origin story, which takes place around 1980. He returned to Scotland in 1778 with his family, specifically to Inverness, when he was abruptly tormented by a deafening noise that sounded like a hive of bees. When he went to Craignaddon to look into it, he discovered the stones and instantly found himself in the future. Buck's sole chance of survival, he was visibly confused, came from finding Roger out shopping in Inverness one day. To Lallybroch, he accompanied him. Bree is far more upset and skeptical of this man than Buck was of Roger, the man Buck almost killed. Why didn't he just attempt going back through the stones, she wonders. In fact, it appears that Roger likes him right away. Well, not right away. He did initially punch him in the face. However, after hearing about Buck's own son, after whom Jemmy is truly named, and witnessing Buck's response upon learning of their shared ancestry, Roger begins to take a liking to the man. Roger finds it difficult to tell Buck that based on the Mackenzie family tree, Buck passed away in 1778, the year he arrived from. If this is true, Buck either never returns to his family, leading them to believe he has passed away, or he does return but passes away shortly after. Both are bad, so Roger waits until Buck has calmed down a little before breaking the news to him. As if Roger and Bree don't already have enough on their plates, Rob Cameron arrives at the dinner Roger promised as scheduled. Roger and Bree stow Buck away and then sit through a pleasant, if somewhat drawn-out, supper. They just can't seem to convince Rob to leave after he breaks down in tears over how his son was lost in the divorce because his ex-wife had the money to hire a pricey attorney. By the end of the night, Rob invites Jimmy to his nephew's house for a playdate and overnight stay. Only after deciding to do so can Roger and Bree release Rob so they can handle the Buck situation. Buck's apology for the entire hanging incident isn't very good. He blames it on the times, and it comes out as a little half-hearted, but Roger seems unconcerned. Though it's crazy, what do I know? I only have Roger's near-death experience as images seared in my memory. Buck does appear to have Roger's support at this point, so what? Buck notices some warning signs when Bree forces him to go to work with her and introduces him to Rob, whom Buck believes has a hot eye for Brianna. Roger and Bree then proceed to have very steamy sex that is precisely timed to the drum solo of In the Air Tonight. Roger blows it aside but does tell Bree about it. Really, this is a win for all of us. But because Outlander is aware of the occasional benefit of a cold shower, it is followed by a tremendous loss. Buck's arrival has undoubtedly diverted Roger and Bree's attention. Otherwise, they might have wondered why Rob was so eager to learn more about them or observed that the trunk in Roger's office, containing all of Jamie and Claire's old letters, appeared to have been tampered with. They don't think about them or pay attention to them. Therefore, it is already too late when Mandy wakes up yelling and informs her parents that she no longer feels her connection to Jemmy. The more Bree and Roger's daughter talks about how she feels and has witnessed, the more they start to take what she is saying seriously, even if they are trying to reassure their daughter that Jem is only at a sleepover. Rob Cameron here. When Bree calls Rob's sister, she discovers that neither a playdate nor a sleepover took place, and even more concerningly that Rob and his car had vanished. When Roger begins to piece everything together, he realizes that Rob must have been the one who was reading the letters, that Rob was acting when he assumed Roger's journal was some kind of unfinished novel, and that Rob has been handling everything as a charade. He also accurately deduces that Rob must be interested in trying out time travel for some reason. He hopes Rob overlooked the section of his time travel manual that describes how Gillis Duncan travels by blood sacrifice. In an effort to thwart Rob's plans, Roger and Buck rush to Craignaddon, but when they arrive, all they discover is Jimmy's scarf next to the stones. It's too late. Roger has no idea where or when Rob and Jemmy are because they have traveled.